So let's talk about what can be done to slow the Republicans' roll as they stampede toward naming a new Supreme Court nominee. Why? Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So we are now immersed in the indecency that is Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, Lindsay Graham, not giving the American people even a minute to grieve, to mourn the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, not giving America even a moment to make the arrangements to say goodbye to an American hero. Whereas 4 years ago, they told us, they insisted that you cannot hold a confirmation hearing for a Supreme Court nominee in the last year of a president's term. Well, they are now yelling and screaming that you must hold a confirmation hearing in the last year of a president's term. The duplicity and the hypocrisy is breathtaking, but expected, right? So now we are left having to talk about how do we slow the Republicans' roll in their sprint to try to cram yet another judge down America's throat, together with all of the not qualified judges that Mitch McConnell has crammed down the throats of the American people. I want to talk about 4 things really quickly. 1, I want to talk about democracy. 2, I want to talk about contracts. 3, I want to talk about Kavanaugh. And 4, I want to talk about the court. But let me start by saying we are at a disadvantage, right? And when I say we, I'll let you self-select if you're part of the we that I'm referring to. When I say we, it's people who care about the rule of law, the Constitution, democracy, and decency. We could probably throw consistency in there too. We know Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham and company don't care about those things. They certainly don't care about the Constitution when it means one thing 4 years ago and something completely different today, right? And when you don't care about the rule of law, well, then I guess you can get away with anything. Well, until the law catches up with you, in January. So let me start by talking about democracy. People have already voted in the presidential election. I'm here in Virginia. We started voting last week. In jurisdictions all around the country, people have already voted either in person or by mail. And it really would do violence to the concept of democracy to say, okay, we're now going to make this enormously consequential decision for our country, for our democracy, after people have already voted. I actually think that is disrespectful of the American voter, and at least in a figurative sense, it does violence to our notions of democracy. This decision should await the election. We are a matter of weeks away from the election. Now, do I pretend that argument will persuade Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham to do the right thing, the decent thing, the consistent thing, the democratic thing? No. We all know better. We've seen what these men are made of, right? Let me move on to contracts, okay? And the reason I want to talk about contracts for a minute is, remember when the Republican Party was all about the contract with America? Contracts, hold us accountable, hold us to our word. We enter into contracts with the American people when we make promises, when we pledge a particular course of action. And what did Lindsey Graham say to the American people 4 years ago? I'm sure you've seen it already on an endless loop. We will not hold a confirmation hearing for a Supreme Court nominee in the 4th year of Donald Trump's term. Hold me to that. What does that sound like to you? Kind of sounds like a contract, right? And he challenged us to hold him to that contract. Hold him to his word. How are contracts enforced? I think in the courts. Now, I was a prosecutor for 30 years. I only handled criminal prosecutions. I did not bring civil cases, class action lawsuits, or otherwise. So I will not sit here and pretend to know precisely if there's a legal cause of action that can be brought in court to enforce Lindsey Graham's promise to the American people, a promise he challenged us to hold him to. There will be no hearing in the 4th year of a president's term. But I know there are a lot of great civil litigators out there who really care about the rule of law, the Constitution, democracy, decency, and consistency, and I hope they're digging into this to see whether there is a cause of action. Contracts. Let's talk about Kavanaugh. It's a little off topic, but let's not forget that Kavanaugh got away with testifying the way he did in his confirmation hearing only because the Trump administration wouldn't hold him to account for that testimony. Beginning in January, he must be made to account. And all that needs to be done is we take Brett Kavanaugh's transcript from his Senate confirmation testimony and the transcripts of every other McConnell judge. Let's start with the ones who are not qualified to be federal court judges, and we examine them. The FBI looks at them and does an investigation fairly, fully, apolitically. And guess what? If those nominees did not lie, if they told 100% of the truth, they have nothing to worry about. But if the Devil's Triangle is not a drinking game, and if Brett Kavanaugh signed his letters FFFFF because some friend of his stuttered, and those are only 2 examples, there were so many more, you saw them. And if he lied about those things, then the remedy's easy. You charge him with lying. You impeach him and you remove him. It's not hard. It's fair. It's just. It's constitutional. And that has to be undertaken in January, regardless of whether Mitch McConnell succeeds in cramming another judge down our throats in the coming weeks or not. And then let me talk about the court. The court has 9 justices, right? Excuse me, the court has 8 justices because we just lost an American hero. But traditionally, the court has had 9 justices for many years now, but that's not always been the case. Over the course of our nation's history, we've had as few as 5, we've had as many as 10. 9 is not a magic number. And come January, we need to dial up the number of judges. I like 11, a la Spinal Tap. Dial it up to 11. But the reason I'm suggesting this, people will say, well, that's not tradition. Well, tradition has failed us. Norms and protocols and the goodwill of men and women has failed us. They've all failed us. So now it's time to take the gloves off and to keep punching. The gloves off and to keep punching. Because when somebody like Mitch McConnell says 4 years ago, the Constitution means no hearing in year 4 of a presidency, and today the Constitution means, of course there's a hearing in year 4 of a president's term. Look, we know the Constitution is a living, breathing document, but that's ridiculous. And that's why we need to take the gloves off and keep punching, keep punching, keep punching, because the Constitution will not support and defend itself. And what a shame it is that we have to support and defend the Constitution from the Mitch McConnells and the Lindsey Grahams and the Donald Trumps of the world. But this is where we are. And we have to fight. We have to fight for justice. Because justice matters. It matters. Folks, please stay safe. I look forward to talking with you all tomorrow.